Today we are not reviewing what is inside a computer, but rather what contains it. The casing, or the chassis, or the box, or the computer chassis, or whatever you want to call this. Today is my very first case review, therefore a little bit special, therefore I have selected a very special case. The Phanteks Enthoo Evolv ATX Tempered Edition. Every computer has its own personality and it always starts with the case. You know, every time a PC manufacturer tries its luck with aluminum and tempered glass, it has its own weight of risk. For one, aluminum is a very unforgiving material to work with in terms of aesthetic and heat retention, meaning that if you do it right, it looks amazing. If you get it wrong, the chip feel is immediate and you really want to make sure that you know what you're doing. But did Phanteks get it right? Well, there is no other way around it, so let's dig right in and roll that intro. Roll it. The Phanteks Enthoo Evolv ATX has been around for a while, but the tempered glass edition is brand new and it comes with a couple of perks which were not available on the previous edition. But let's start by the obvious. Our case is 235mm wide, 495mm long and 510mm deep. It weighs about 10 kg empty and can accommodate mini ATX, micro ATX, ATX and EATX. I slowed down on that one because it's up to 264mm EATX, which is not really EATX, let's face it. So I would not recommend this particular case for larger builds such as, you know, extreme or even Threadripper builds. You want to keep it for ATX and under motherboard builds. Our Phanteks Evolv features this minimalist angular design that has been its brand appeal for the past few years. The metallic body is dressed up by 4 titanium grade sandblasted anodized coated aluminum sheets. You know what? Right here and there, on the first glance and touch, you know that this is a premium item. And it doesn't stop there. The case is available in 3 different colors, what they call the satin black, anthracite, whatever, dark gray, middle gray and grayish gray. On the top of our front panel we have a magnetized and padded I/O cover which very smoothly opens and closes over our front peripherals. Talking of which, we have 2 3rd generation USB inlets, our front panel audio inlets, and color control buttons for our casing RGB and RGB exports. Since this is a brand new product, I was surprised not to find at least one Type-C USB inlet, and I find it kind of disappointing, but nevertheless not a deal breaker, so let's just carry on. On the lower end of our front case, thrown a very simple yet elegant horizontal indentation which houses an horizontal RGB strip. Worth noting, this strip is ORA compliant, and that means it can sync its light effect with our motherboard and whatever ORA compliant components we have running in this build. We can also remove that front panel to access the front air filter, and behind that filter we will also have access to our fan bay. The chassis comes pre-installed with 2 140mm radius high pressure fans, but we can put up to 3 of them, both in 120 or 140mm diameter form factor. Now, the side panels are what motivated the whole lineup release. Anyone who has some serious consideration for their build aesthetic will prefer and will spend the extra money to get tempered glass side panels. And in our case, both sides of our chassis is equipped with a 5mm thick tempered glass panels, and they've been shaped to perfectly match the chassis frontal shape. And in a way, it is a testimony of their attention to detail and finish. It's also important to note that both sides of our tempered glass are being well protected. And I mean by that we do have nice paddings surrounding its entire perimeter. Again, a testimony to the finishing worry that Phanteks has shown on this product. One more thing, where is the start button in all this? Well, right there on the top of our case, and it is surrounded by a see-through plastic piece which will conduct our power LED lighting as well as our RGB aura effect. Again, we have a beautiful angled top panel which features air vents opening on its sides and a molecular looking grid. And you know I love molecular looking stuff. Since we're at it, right behind this grid we can see our mountable radiator rail. That's very cool. Radiator rail meaning that you can easily take it off and on and off and on. And it can accommodate a 280 by 140 mm radiator or a longer 360 by 120 mm wide radiator and its respective fans. Pretty rad. I'm sorry. Staying in radiators, in addition to this one, we can add not one, but two more. One in front of our case, again, up to 240 by 140 mm or 360 by 120 mm. And a third one in the rear of our case. Even though it is a more compact ATX build, this thing was designed for custom water cooling system. You can easily operate two fully fledged custom water cooling loops. The only real problem you'll have with custom water cooling this thing is that you're gonna have to remove every single hard disk tray available to us. But more on that later. Talking of which, the Enthoo Evolv features up to 5 modular 3.5-inch hard disk trays in here, and we have an additional 2 pre-installed 3.5-inch modular hard disk trays right there. SSD wise, we have 2 smaller sliding trays on the back of our case. So that's a total of 9 hard disks. So again, if you're not going for a custom water cooling system, you could run Google on this thing. On the rear end of our case, we have a 160 mm high pressure exhaust fan and 7 back shields for our video cards and other accessories. So nothing groundbreaking here. Our PSU area is partially opened on its side to let some of its color and logos appear, but here I have to take exception with the design. Yes, I do. You will need to enter the PSU from its side, and with so many components and the potentially tight fit, I would have appreciated a removable back bracket so that we could fit the PSU right in from behind. Again, nothing dramatic, but I did want to mention it. Alright, since we're at it, we have a sliding air filter for our PSU right here. And it's quite robust too. It's not going to be super easy to take it off or put it back in, so make sure to apply some force on it. On the back of our chassis, we can see our exposed fan hub with 3 more available plugs to spare. And that will show itself so absolutely convenient if you have an entry-level motherboard with a limited amount of fan connectors. So kudos to Phanteks for that as well. And finally, if you do want to go for a water cooling system, we can remove this plate to better fit in and access our water pump and reservoir. Alright, so let's move into the inside of our case and see in detail what we can put in there. The motherboard floor has its screw raiser solidly pre-installed, and we have good quality cable protector ready for use, and that is something I really appreciate, because working on other very good and very worthy casing, the little cable protection would always get out of its place and fold around, or does not completely adhere to the metallic fringe of our case. So that I really appreciate the fact that it's a little bit thicker and, you know, stick there as it should. The cable management, we have 3 branded Velcro ties which seem to be durable and are perfectly placed to keep our cables in place. Our only down point is the fact that we have nothing of such for 8-pin CPU cable. Why? That seemed like that could have been really cool. It was an absolutely perfection, you know, because guys, all right? In conclusion, let me start by the price. The Phanteks Enthoo Evolv ATX tempered edition will run you around $190 US. And it almost makes me mad. I've been spending hundreds of dollars on higher end casings, $300, $400, $500, $1,000, you name it, and they really did not compare in terms of finish and the premium materials which were used on this particular case. It is not a stretch to say that this is the most beautiful and best finished, best designed case I've had the pleasure to play with. I mean, we can go on the aluminum finish, we can go on the custom made tempered glass. We can also talk about the fact that it is ORA compliant, which is a major thing for me. Overall, a real attention to detail and a real worry to please the customer. Whenever you're going to use this case, wherever you're going to put it, people will stop and look. On both sides, it's just absolutely glorious. Now, there are problems with it. I'm not saying it's absolutely perfect. I'm not happy by the fact that there's no Type-C on the I/O front panel. I'm not happy that there is no back bracket for the UPS installation. That was a design flaw that should be addressed if I were Phanteks on the next generation of casing. And of course, it is advertised as an EATX compliant motherboard. It is not. I have tried to put an EATX board, even a shorter EATX board, and it will not fit. It's not gonna work out. So there are critics, but overall, I would not go for anything else. And right now, I'm catching myself wondering when is the next Evolv coming out, because I really want to see how they're gonna top it off. There is some room for improvement, but not much. That's why I have decided to give it my very first Laurent's Choice Best Value Case Award 2017. Yeah, that's the first of its kind, and I just came up with the name now.